Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring dLYosh in our top right corner, playing our blue Protoss, and in the bottom left we have Peter, our red Terran. Oh no, it's a fake Peter. It's not the real Peter at all. Is a fake Peter a dildo? That's the question, because I know Peter is a slang for a penis, and a fake penis would be a dildo. So, did he purposely do that, or is his name like Brian and his brother is Peter and he's just tired of living in the shadows? These are the questions. These are the things that Peter has to grapple with. And we're going to see if dLYosh can help him come to terms with his own individuality, or you know, what's going to happen. What's going to happen? And it is a TVP is what's going to happen. And we're on Antigua Shipyard, which is a very well-known map. I think this is the original, because it's got the high yield minerals, and also there are no burrowed supply depots on the bottom of the ramp to prevent that cheese. And since we have a Protoss, we'll have to think about that sort of cheese. We'll also have to think about building placement. We can see the first pylon has been thrown down just behind dLYosh's Nexus, which means it's not going to be some sort of shenanigans with the Forge Fast Expand. Forge Fast Expand very common against Zerg, not so common against Terran. But with a map being so large, such as Antigua Shipyard, you never know. You just never know if a guy named dLYosh. The first SCV will be coming out shortly, and we've got the first probe heading out. Both players scouting. I wondered, did Peter choose correctly? It looks like he did. He actually didn't even queue up different moves. He's very confident that he chose correctly. Fake Peter is heading in the right direction, and it looks like dLYosh is heading in the wrong. He's actually got his moves queued up also, but not to different bases. Double gas being grabbed by dLYosh with the two assimilators going down next to the gateway, so definitely a heavy gas play, some heavy tech, and the SCV is going to scout that, see that there's no super early expansion coming out, because each one of those assimilators is, while they're not super expensive, they do cost probes to mine correctly from, and usually you'll see only 2 probes per geyser, so you can get something like 1.5 geyser income. But the added income comes at the cost of decreased minerals, and that means that you don't get an early expansion up shortly. And so Fake Peter's probably going to have a good idea that he can grab his own expansion, expect some sort of high-tech, maybe air play. And so he'll get some anti-air up, and he should be relatively safe. Terran does a pretty good job against air, especially if they know it's coming. The Cybernetics core is being built right next to the gateway, so besides that totally standard build, we'll see what to expect shortly from Fake Peter. He's got that first barracks building that first Marine, but he does have that SCV building this command center down in the bottom right corner. Poor dLYosh, choosing the exact wrong expansion to scout every single time. So he'll arrive just too late to see that expansion's coming out. But fortunately for him, he does have the double geysers up, so he's making a build that will take advantage of the fact that there's not going to be a bunch of aggression coming out of Peter anyway. So it's not too much of a loss for him to have scouted in the wrong direction. Definitely nothing that he can't overcome by no stretch of the imagination. Fake Peter sending out a SCV off to the third, probably up here to check to see if there's any hidden buildings. That's exactly what he's doing. Check to see if there's a hidden pylon right here, Stargate or something crazy like that. But we can see that the added gas is being used to build a robotics facility back at home. A single zealot out on the field, probably not going to be able to stop the SCV if it wanted to suicide him in, but it looks like Peter, tired of losing his SCV already, is down by 50 minerals, and the first 50 minerals was lost probably to one of those 4 Marines that are up on the high ground from dLYosh. Well, the Marines belong to Peter, but the probe that died belonged to dLYosh. Second gas, 2 gases being grabbed for Peter, 2 barracks being added on, as well as an engineering base, so it's definitely going to be some sort of bio play coming out of Peter. Probably going to see a factory thrown down shortly, but that's just to get those medevacs out. Or we could see just more and more barracks being thrown down so that you can absolutely swarm the ground. We can see an observer being built from the robotics facility, a nice idea to get that one out, especially with a map being so large. Awareness is very important, but the surprise robotics facility being thrown out on the low ground with nothing to defend it against, he's very aware that aggression can be coming from Peter at any time, but with the SCV or the CC being built down at the Natural Expo, he's probably got a very good handle on the sort of timing to expect. He's also got to be aware that there's an SCV right there, just watching, waiting for the expansion to go down. Warp Gate Tech has been finished. 2 more gateways being added on, and it looks like a warp prism on the way. The SCV did go down from that zealot. The observer goes in, sees that there's no add-ons to any of these barracks, so any aggression that will be coming out of FakePeter is going to be very delayed, specifically because the aggression is going to be waiting for STEM or combat shields. 2 tech labs being thrown down, probably those upgrades are going to be beginning at the same time. That sort of timing attack can be incredibly powerful, but it does mean that dLYosh has more time to get up his expansion. He's got that Nexus coming down. He'll probably throw down a forage and a couple of cannons down on the front, or he could just be relying on this Warp Prism to do quite a lot of damage. He does have Warp Prism speed coming on, as well as a robotics facility. Building a Colossus that is queued into the Warp Prism, so it'll be some sort of drop. Oh, it'll be micro. It'll be the micro of the Colossus. That Colossus, when it drops down, it immediately fires, and you can pick it right back up. Very popular to do that with Immortals, but Colossus does AoE damage, and that AoE damage will absolutely chew up these Marines who do not have Combat Shield. Combat Shield has been started, as is STEM, but both of those are a long ways away. The Colossus does arrive, begins to focus down the factory, which is a peculiar choice. I would expect him to go for the SCVs, and a quick reposition of the very speedy Warp Prism with that speed gets it into position. Speed for extended thermal lance range is not done for that Colossus, but it still outranges those Marines slightly. Dropping that Colossus behind the smoke allows it to do quite a lot of damage, because remember, the Warp Prism scouts above that smoke. Very good job with the Colossus focusing down the Marines specifically. Doesn't have to worry too much about the Marauders. 2 Marauders aren't going to be able to take down that Colossus very quickly, but those Marines could definitely chew up the Warp Prism very, very fast. Really nice micro from dLYosh. Peter's doing a pretty good job too, minimizing the amount of shots, but he's not doing a very good job of splitting up his units. Needs to be careful with that AoE. You can see that the Colossus has done almost 400 minerals worth of damage, and FakePeter's got to be very frustrated, because this is the sort of thing you just wish that the Colossus would land for 1 second so that you could directly engage it. It's taken quite a lot of damage already, but it's done so much. So much damage, and it's also held back FakePeter. FakePeter wasn't going to be moving out anyway, because the STEM and is just now finishing Combat Shield's been done for a couple of seconds, but now FakePeter would want to be on the doorstep of dLYosh. He would want to be poking at this expansion, which is fully mining, and it's doing its thing, and that's not something that Terran wanted to happen. Terran does have a harvester count advantage. He has had his expansion up for a little bit longer, but FakePeter was he's constantly having to deal with this Colossus, which is constantly regenerating its shields, and it's very difficult for me to tell you what its shield count is, but it's very, very weak right now. There, it finally goes down, but we only have Marauders left, and every single one of those Marauders have taken quite a lot of damage as it is. The starport does have a single Viking on the way, which would mean that even if that Colossus had survived for a little bit longer, it wouldn't have lasted much longer, because that Viking would have chased down the Warp Prism either back to home, or just straight up and down killed it with the Colossus inside of it. Handful more gateways being added on, as dLYosh will have to transition away from that Colossus drop play straight to a more traditional Colossus play, like the straight on Colossus ball, because he knows it's bio. He knows he's got to have anti-bio, anti-AoE. Get the Psionic Storm on the way, which will be very, very, very powerful against those Marines. But again, it's one of those time plays. You've got to wait, and you've got to pray that your opponent doesn't crush down your front door. And with the added infrastructure that we see, FakePeter's got a very intimidating force. These Marauders were built initially to deal with that Colossus, but now he's got a pretty intimidating ground army. And that ground army will chew through what dLYosh has back at home. He's got a single Colossus, a single High Templar, and 5 Zealots. Not a lot there, but that High Templar will be able to throw down Storm by the time FakePeter arrives at his front door, if he ever decides to move out. It looks like he's moving out with the Vikings right now, chase around, try to find the Warp Prism. It looks like he did find the Warp Prism. It looks like he was trying for another drop. Oh no, losing that Colossus is absolutely devastating. It represents so much damage, potential damage, and while those Vikings could have killed that Colossus within seconds of a direct engagement, he definitely doesn't want to lose that, because 1 or 2 shots from a Colossus can absolutely swing an engagement in your favor. 5 Vikings are out on the field. I would not be surprised if dLYosh just nixes building any more Colossus for the rest of the game, uses all that gas for Archons and High Templars. The AoE will come from their Storms, or from the Archons themselves, just doing some intimidating damage. But he is building another Warp Prism, so it could be that he's going to do for another drop play. I really do not know. Oh, good, I lost my connection. Go away. Third is being taken by FakePeter with his command center onto the close by air one, which will make him even more delicate against the Warp Prism harass that we've seen so far. 3 Stalkers are going to town on the factory, which will fall shortly, but dLYosh is grabbing his own expansion, his own third at the high yield minerals, and unfortunately that's going to mean that when the engagement happens, all he'll have are these Zealots and a handful of High Templars to storm the crap out of those Marines, and I don't think that those High Templars will be able to hold back this huge swell of Marines, especially. I mean, both players are in Masters. I did not mention it at the start, I apologize, but you should have expected that, what with the micro from both players early on. Warp Prism is now out on the field. We don't see anything queued up back at home in the production tab for the robotics facility, so no other Colossus. So maybe that Warp Prism will reposition itself behind enemy lines, as I'm just really interested in what Peter's going to do, because he needs to move out, but he's got to be afraid of this Warp Prism. He's going to know that it exists. He knows that the drop possibility exists, and with him taking a third that's so close by air, he's got to be a little bit timid, and that's what we're seeing. FakePeter has an intimidating army, and he needs to move out and do damage. Instead, he's got it positioned at just a nice even place where he's going to be equally vulnerable to harassment. Warp Prism is in position, just staring at the SCVs, drops down 3 charge lots, and they go to town. There's the reaction from FakePeter pulling his up. Everything here is going to die very, very quickly, but he shut down mining completely, and these Zealots will focus down that Ghost Academy, and that's an entire base's worth of income lost for more than a handful of seconds. I think that this has definitely paid for itself from dLYosh. He also sees the sorts of units that he's dealing with, and he forced a complete stem, which is a lot of energy from the medevacs healing, and maybe there's so many units here that took damage from that stem, it could be that he completely depletes them, and they're a little bit weaker later on. 2 Ghosts are out on the field, though. They're going to be accumulating energy so that they can throw down that EMP, and at the same time, a 4th has been built for dLYosh. Man, he's making a huge economy play, but he's really playing it ballsy. This is such a dangerous play because he's incredibly exposed right now, 118 to 170. These storms have to be fantastic to hold back this intimidating bio ball and the supporting cast of the Vikings. This is really going to be bad. He does pull back. There goes the fantastic feedback on the 2 Ghosts. Wow, those EMPs could have been huge. There goes the storm, forcing the pullback from FakePeter, darting back and forth. Really, really fast play. Expect some more storms. There goes another, and another, and another. Oh my goodness, there's just so many storms. And Peter's just sitting there taking it like a champ. All of a sudden, everything is dead. Only 2 Archons remain, and more than a handful of Marines. They're Marauders. The Marauders will focus down the Archons, but with the continual warping of Zealots, I don't think FakePeter is going to be able to continue this aggression. We saw a massive, just an absolutely massive lead in supply. It's cart to absolutely nothing. Was there a drop here? It looks like there was, because I saw the Warp Prism darting back and the Vikings removing themselves from the fight, but I think this was much more important engagement to watch, and it looks like FakePeter is going to have to deal with a Protoss that is now on 4 bases. 4 bases that will be continually producing minerals and gas and, in turn, units. The Marauders, nice stutter step micro there, dealing with such a huge number of Zealots, but with that charge on the Zealots, they're going to be doing continual damage, and we can see more than a handful of High Templars are now out on the field, going to be able to feed back those Ghosts, and as well as throw down the random storm on these bio units. Oh, those Vikings have to be so frustrated. They wish there was a Colossus for them to kill. Unfortunately, there is not. It looks like the Colossus has returned. He's got 6 kills back at home, doing such massive damage, and Peter's just, he can't reposition his units, because if he pulls back to deal with this Colossus, actually he could just send his Vikings. Just send your Vikings, that'll be fine. Oh, but he's losing so many of these units. It looks like the Workers Lost tab of 27. Those Vikings going forward, just taking extra damage from the Archon, which gets sniped almost instantly. The Ghost pretty ballsily moving itself into the common ground. The Colossus has been repositioned. Is he back? Oh, there's 2 of them. Man, FakePeter's just desperately trying to take this common ground, get to that high yield minerals, but he can't, because dLYosh is just continually producing units here, splitting his attention between so many different areas, and then with the Colossus right outside of his base, just raining down fire on any of those units trying to reinforce that aggression. Really just top drawer play from Yosh. So much aggression in so many different areas, and I'm aware of it all. It's just you can't look at more than one thing at one time, and this was incredibly important because if this played out in FakePeter's advantage, Yosh would have lost that fourth, and all of a sudden Peter would be on even terms. But Yosh was, man, really good. He was good. He was good. This replay was good. You guys are good people for watching my replay. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary.